I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. I'm joined this week by my special guest host and friend, Neil Melancon, who used to do the bottom line. We're bringing him back up to the top.
Thanks. I'm a poor substitute for Kristen, but it's great to be here.
We'll take you this time. Well, just weeks after Tropical Storm Arthur dumped feet of water across central Louisiana, folks there are still feeling the impacts.
Many are still unable to return to their homes that got flooded in the storm, as disaster aid is slowly making its way to those impacted. For homeowners and business owners, the U.S. Small Business Administration is offering disaster loans in 4 impacted parishes: Avoyelles, St. Landry, St. Tammany, and Terrebonne. There's a different process for farmers who lost their crops. They have to apply to USDA FSA offices and report their losses. U.S. Congresswoman Julia Letlow requested that the USDA declare an additional agricultural disaster in the aftermath of Arthur, but it's unclear if that's going to happen. SBA loans are available to agricultural entities, but that would be one more loan to pay back when farmers are already facing such tight margins. Recent flooding in Avoyelles Parish sent water downstream into parts of St. Landry Parish, creating a slow-moving disaster for farmers and ranchers already fighting a wet year.
As TWILA's Carl Wiggers shows us, one of the hardest hit crops may be one that you don't even think of.
The rain fell hard in Avoyelles Parish, but the damage did not stop with the storm. As that water moved south, farmers in northeastern St. Landry Parish watched fields, roads, and yards change by the day.
Simsport is 22 miles from my house. From like my house to Maddie's truck stop is like 22 miles. And they got anywhere from 28 to 31 inches in 12 hours.
Austin Pitcher says the floodwater did not arrive all at once. It crept in over several days, giving farmers time to move equipment and prepare, but not much certainty about where the water would go next.
You know, if that water moved 2 miles a day, we were 5-6 days later, 7-8 days later, it was in our yards.
That slow rise may have spared some homes and barns, but for hayfields, standing water can turn a crop with value into something farmers still have to handle, even if they cannot sell it.
The hay that was ready to cut, if it stayed there long enough, it probably, it kind of just rots off, turns black. We're seeing some of it turn up green, but it ain't. It's far from good. Hay that was already baled, it'd probably be, that's all it's gonna be, rotten.
And that is the hidden cost. Even damaged hay has to be cut, baled, moved, or burned before a farmer can make another pass through the field.
It's gonna cost you $15 a bale out to get it out the field, and then you gotta burn it or put it in the low spots in the pasture, let the cows lay in it, because you can't give it away, you can't sell it.
The flooding came after weeks of wet weather had already delayed the hay season. Many producers were still trying to get a first cutting out of the way when their water came through. For cattle producers, that could mean hay that is now harder to find, more expensive to buy, or lower in quality than normal.
We hustled and we did get some hay cut and baled, but we're not nearly where we should be because it ain't quit raining since we started. But we already wasn't in the best situation from a hay standpoint, and now there's high water in the hay.
Louisiana Agriculture and Forestry Commissioner Dr. Mike Strain met with farmers in the area to hear damage reports firsthand. He says crop insurance and existing disaster programs may help some producers, but not every loss will be fully covered.
Some of them have lost their entire crops. There are going to be some big gaps that we need to fix. Plus, our farmers have been on razor-thin margins for years. They don't have any excess capital in the banks to overcome this.
Strain says the first step for farmers is documentation. Keeping records, taking pictures, and staying in contact with the agencies that may be part of the recovery process.
The process is now that we tell the farmers, keep good records, do what you need to do, right? Contact your crop insurance agency, contact Farm Services Agency.
For Pitcher and other hay producers, the next few weeks will be about finding enough dry weather to salvage what they can, and getting the bad hay out of the way so the next cutting has a chance.
It's plenty of hay out there, it just need to be put in a bale now, but it ain't gonna be much quality. They probably keep cows alive, but that's about it.
In St. Landry Parish, I'm Carl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Commissioner Strain encourages farmers affected by the flooding to contact their local Farm Service Agency office and keep detailed records of all damage, repairs, and recovery expenses. Tropical Storm Arthur brought flood to one part of the state, but drought remains a problem outside of the storm's path.
Delayed planting and washouts have already hurt crops in central Louisiana. Farmers this year seem to be caught between feast or famine when it comes to rainfall. You can see on the cypress where the water line was last month. This bayou in Rapides Parish bears witness to what even 10 inches of rain can do. The soybean field had not been planted all spring due to dry weather, and when it was finally plowed, that's when the rain started.
It really slowed us down for what we needed been doing. We actually had to get the airplane to fly a bunch of stuff for us. We were delayed putting out fertilizer on soybeans. We still haven't put out any fertilizer on pastures just because they're still, we were just starting to get the water off. And then we started catching some rain again a few days ago, and it's coming. It's not creeping up like it was, but all our ditches are full.
Duncan also raises cattle and says between the drought and the rain, they haven't gotten a single stitch of hay cut so far. He'll likely have to rely on what you see behind him.
We're in the first week of July, and we haven't cut we ain't even hooked a hay cutter up yet. We've got a hay field right over here. We'll pass by that. The dead ryegrass is, what little bit still standing is still there, but there's nothing really growing in it because of the water. It's a 60-acre hayfield, and that whole hayfield had water on it for most of May in June.
Down the road, Duncan's neighbor Ryan Yerby did get beans in the ground in Grant Parish, but more than half of this field got washed away when floodwaters came from that line of trees there. As for the rest of his fields, he'll take the regular rainfall as he's already had to irrigate once this year.
The year started off very, very dry. We were delayed in planting soybeans, and it turned off dry. We actually had to irrigate corn at one point. And like I said, the drought, as everybody saw in the drought monitor, we got up to D3. And normally this is our driest point.
The rain has definitely made the corn crop for Yerby this year, who says they're less than a month from harvest. Despite the rains, cracks are beginning to show for soybeans, though. Yerby says he'll need regular rains from now through harvest to avoid the expense of irrigation.
In Grant Parish, we are 7 days from a drought, no matter what. You can rain 10 inches, and in 7 days, we can be dried out and looking for rain again. That's just kind of the way it is right here along the Red River. Our soil can go from very sandy to very heavy.
Between the drought and the flooding is the problem of prices. Commodities are low while overhead remains high, so farmers like Yerby have had to cut back on both spraying and fuel costs.
Actually, to save money, I converted some of our irrigation wells over to propane just because propane was cheaper than diesel. So we're just looking at everything as a cost-saving program right now.
For many in central Louisiana, the excess moisture comes after more than 6 months of drought, which saw parts of the state in the worst category of drought, according to state climatologist Jay Grimes.
Keep in mind, this is supposed to be the wettest state in the lower 48. So we don't normally expect to see conditions like that. And for folks that are familiar with the drought monitor, the weekly drought monitor, half of the state was in D3. D4 is the worst category possible. So this was an unusual event.
Meanwhile, parts of North Louisiana are still as high as D1 drought, which is classified as moderate drought by the U.S. Drought Monitor. And Avery, one thing I talked to Jay Grimes about is he is still in the process of calculating just how much rain fell on Avoyelles Parish, because it's such a rural area that they're relying on smaller rainfall gauges there, some of which are inaccurate in favor of lower rainfall amounts than actually fell. So it could be higher than even 30 inches that's been reported.
Well, I know our friend Louis Coco over there at KLIL Radio, he measured 32 inches at his station. Obviously, that's not official, but he went out and he said he dumped it 3 times. And so a huge amount of rainfall. Thank you very much, Neil Melancon. Well, whether the problem is too much water or not enough, flood or drought, Louisiana ranchers come to each other's aid during a time of need. That's why the Louisiana Farm Bureau's Livestock Advisory Committee re-engaged its hay clearinghouse. Via the Louisiana Farm Bureau website, lafarmbureau.org, ranchers who have hay can fill out a form saying they can donate or transport hay. Ranchers who need hay can access that form and then contact the donor directly so their cattle in need have the forage necessary to keep them alive. Louisiana Farm Bureau Livestock Advisory Committee Vice Chair Robert Duncan says it's just what farmers do.
That's what we're all about, grassroots organization. If you're in a bind and you can't get what you need, you can pick up the phone and find somebody who has what you need, and 99.9% of the time they're going to be willing to give what they can. Sometimes to an extent that they might put themselves in a bind. Farmers are pretty salt of the earth, and they'll do what they can to help each other out. And so being able to put into the hay clearinghouse, being able to take from the hay clearinghouse, whether it be hay or tubs or you know, it doesn't matter when you've got, you know, like Avoyelles had, when you have pastures completely underwater, devastated, gone, it makes all the difference. It makes the difference of selling out or being able to keep your cows. And so just that's what this organization does, is just, you know, we keep each other going and no matter what we have to do.
Again, to learn more about the Louisiana Farm Bureau Hay Clearinghouse, visit our website at twilatv.org.
A proposed $4 billion ammonia plant in Ascension Parish is approaching a key federal permitting deadline, according to a report from the Center Square. The project is part of a federal effort to speed up environmental reviews for new fertilizer production. The Blue Point facility, led by CF Industries with Japanese partners, it would produce about 1.4 million tons of ammonia each year, with much of it headed to overseas markets. Supporters say it will strengthen fertilizer production and create jobs. Federal permit decisions are expected soon. Well, surviving and farming for 100 years takes good fortune, patience, and resilience.
At the 104th Annual Louisiana Farm Bureau Convention, several families were recognized for reaching this milestone. LSU AgCenter reporter Craig Gautreaux reports from the Crescent City.
A life in farming can have high points and pitfalls. For a farm to last 100 years, it takes multiple generations willing to make many sacrifices. At the Louisiana Farm Bureau State Convention, several farms were inducted into the Century Farm program. One family that persevered is the McClellans, who started their farm in 1925 in Vermilion Parish.
I think both of us are very proud of the fact that our families have stayed together and farmed together for that long a period of time. That's remarkable.
While those that started the farms are no longer with us, family members that were present recognize the individuals that established the farms. Philip Green of the Leon P. Laplew farm gave credit to his ancestors.
It's a real blessing and an honor to be able to give credit to the legacy of our grandparents and great-grandparents and the family that's continued on to this day, and our cousins and others who weren't able to be here today.
Economic factors are making farming a difficult path to continue. For the families present at this celebration, the hope is for the farms to see another century.
And to keep it alive. You know, keep this memory, whether they're actively involved or distantly involved, it's still part of our story that needs to be, you know, remembered and told and passed on.
Lily Adams Wiley oversees the program for the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry. She says there are many other farms that have qualified for the designation, making for a bright future for the program.
We have awarded 90 farm families during the Louisiana Farm Bureau Convention, and we are looking forward to the next 90 in coming years.
Keeping farmland in production remains a challenge, but for some families, it has always been a priority. From New Orleans, this is LSU AgCenter reporter Craig Gautreaux.
The owners of the farms and their families received a certificate and a display sign to recognize their long-term commitment to Louisiana agriculture. Still to come on TWILA, insects from Australia threaten Louisiana's sugarcane crop. We'll show you where the pasture mealybug has been found.
Plus, rice farmers head out into the fields to start their harvest. Despite a good crop, it may not be enough to sustain some farms.
You're watching This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
New World screwworm continues to spread across Texas, but the parasitic pest still has not been detected in Louisiana so far. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says active cases have now been confirmed in 6 Texas counties, more than a month after the first detection near the Texas-Mexico border. The flesh-eating fly lays eggs in open wounds on warm-blooded animals, where the larvae feed on living tissue and can be deadly if left untreated. Livestock are primarily the concern, but pets can also be affected. Officials are urging animal owners to check animals daily for wounds or signs of infestation and contact a veterinarian immediately if they suspect an infection. The fly only targets living animals and poses no danger to your food.
Another invasive bug is targeting the state's sugarcane crop. The pasture mealybug is native to Australia and Southeast Asia, but has made its way into South Louisiana. The bug feeds on the juices of sugarcane, destroying the plant's leaves. That reduces photosynthesis, which can significantly diminish crop yields by up to 50%, according to folks over at the LSU AgCenter. LSU AgCenter entomologist Blake Wilson has been studying how sprays can target the bugs without harming the plants. The first one they tried was ineffective, and now they're trying to get approval for the next one.
They spray about 75% of the field and leave a quarter of it untreated, so we can see how those infestations progress and what the impacts are on the sugarcane crop health.
So far, the pasture mealy bug has been documented in 3 parishes, but more are expected as teams survey fields across the state. Rice is one of the first crops farmers cut as we move into harvest season. Right now, combines are rolling through fields across the state as long as weather allows.
Even though most rice fields thrive this year, not every farmer is optimistic about what they have to sell. TWILA's Josh Meeks talked to one farmer in Vermilion Parish about his concerns.
Alan McLean's combines aren't moving right now after showers this morning delayed him. In fact, you can hear some thunder in the distance, which could push things back a little bit further. But harvest is underway in Vermilion Parish. Every day in the heat of coastal South Louisiana, the chance of rain is almost always 50-50. Right now, the rice is too wet to harvest, but it gives Alan McLean an opportunity to see how his combines are cutting.
See, it's being milled in the back of the machine, so you can slow your rotors in different settings to where you prevent that.
He can also see his second crop, called the ratoon crop.
You got growth all around here where that rice is just going to start growing for the next crop. Can you see it? It's ripe. We need to get started cutting to where whenever we come back, manipulate it, roll it, mow it, knock the stubble down. It'll give the second crop a better chance.
With rice prices being what they are, he'll need every single grain he can from his 3,000 acres.
Right now, yields are all over across the board, a little lower than what some people would have liked to see. Prices are lower than what we've liked to see, and it's just one of those things that we're going to have to keep moving forward with and move on and hope for the best.
Harvesting good, high-quality rice is McLean's passion. He says his biggest fight right now is figuring out what costs he can cut without sacrificing that quality.
We might be putting more fertilizer in one application to cut the application of another application of with the plane or with the ground rig, one more less pass through the field. We might try to put all your herbicides into one application and try to skirt without one. We're cutting corners there, or I mean, it might be hold off on the pumping for a little bit longer, not pumping so much to where we're burning the fuel, where we're not checking the fields twice a day. We got to back off.
He has to cut those costs because he has no choice but to buy fertilizer at the exorbitant cost of nearly $750 a ton.
I mean, I can remember $500-600. I mean, that's comparable. I need something that's fair, but I mean, everybody is different on the amount that they put. Every variety needs a little more, a little less.
So while McLean says he can see the end of harvest on the horizon, he says if things don't change, it's hard to be optimistic. Reporting from Vermilion Parish for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Josh Meeks.
Louisiana is the 3rd largest rice-producing state with roughly 480,000 acres across 29 parishes. Well, before farmers plant the rice they're currently harvesting, researchers developed the best varieties to plant in Louisiana's unique climate.
Many of those varieties and management practices are developed in Crowley at the LSU AgCenter H Rouse Caffey Rice Research Station. That station has been the site of farmer field days for more than 100 years. The more yellow than amber waves of grain in fields across southwest Louisiana signal that rice harvest is getting underway. It also signals that it's time for those rice farmers to come together in Crowley for the annual LSU AgCenter H Rouse Caffey Rice Research Station Field Day.
This is the biggest event we do every year.
Dr. Adam Formoso is the director of the Rice Research Station. He's proud that it's taken place annually for 117 years.
It's a big, important event for us because it gets us the opportunity to have people come out here, see what we're doing. It's an opportunity for the industry to come together, share ideas, catch up, and see the research that's going on, and last, to provide feedback to the researchers on what the industry needs and what the producers want our research to be focused on.
And these farmers have a big voice when it comes to what happens at the Rice Research Station because it's their money going into that research.
These interactions are critical to have the farmers' input to the researchers. Also, a lot of what we do depends on the state checkoff fund, and that's a producer fund that they contribute to that supports the research that we do out here.
Kent Brown is a rice farmer near Jennings. He says what Famoso just mentioned is one reason he comes every year.
It gives us a chance to see where our research money's going, see what the new technology is, see what the new varieties are.
Varieties are important, as is research into new invasive pests. This little bug, the rice delphacid, is a new threat to Louisiana's rice industry, one that Famoso says is garnering a lot of attention.
The rice delphacid made its appearance here last year for the first time, so researchers at the Ag Center are doing a lot of monitoring to see if it's going to come back and whether it comes back, how much of an impact it has. But it's a major concern of everyone because it has the potential to be a devastating pest.
What also has the potential for devastating effects is the current market for rice, a challenge that crosses commodities.
Challenges facing the industry are, like many of the ag industries right now, are certainly the price is not favorable for rice. Acres this year are down drastically across the South. Louisiana is less impacted, I think largely because of our rotation with crawfish, but rice acres are down, stocks are up, so and prices are down. So that's a major challenge.
For Brown, it's go time. He planted his crop early, and now it's time for an early harvest.
Usually the early crop does better, so we're going to find out in the next few weeks if the early crop's going to be that much better.
If you would like to learn more about the Rice Research Station, check out the Feasting on Agriculture segment we did last year about the station and its role in developing Louisiana-grown jasmine rice. You'll also see a great way to cook it. You'll find that on our YouTube channel and on our website at twilatv.org.
Still to come on TWILA, teachers eating worms, all in the name of learning about agriculture.
Food doesn't come from a grocery store or a restaurant. You know, it comes from a farm.
Every year, it's the Fast Food Farm's mission to give ag teachers the tools they need to get that message to kids. The Fast Food Farm is a lesson-heavy, hands-on workshop for teachers across the state. Each station has a different focus, from things like microgreens to chickens, and yes, worms. Teddy Folse, a teacher at Lockport Middle School, says these lessons are crucial for kids who didn't grow up around farms.
So these types of experiences and lessons are super important because it opens the door for them to understand where that hamburger comes from or where those mashed potatoes that they're addicted to comes from. It's all good food and there's different ways that we can make them and grow them, but things like this just open the door to get them to see you can do, even though it might be on a smaller scale, you can have a bucket garden in your backyard and you can grow those produce and different things. It just makes them realize everything doesn't come off of a shelf.
Roughly 40 teachers attended this year's workshop. The farm will host an Ag Day for kids later in the year. For information on how to sign up, visit our website at twilatv.org.
That does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when, because Neil did such a great job this week, we're going to replace you.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
So it'll be a surprise guest host next week. You want to tune in to see who that will be.
All right. Well, until then, you can watch all of our stories online at twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you know when we put out new content.
For all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. Neil hopes to see you again right here next week.